620, Big 550, KTRS here in St. Louis. You can also watch us at KTRS.com, and you can watch us at STLtoday.com as well. Brad Garrett, ABC News crime and terrorism analyst. Good morning, Brad Garrett.
Good morning, McGraw.
Let's talk about Eric Holder announcing that he is going to try and rework all of the drug sentences. What are your thoughts as a former G-man?
Well, the Attorney General is focusing on nonviolent criminal cases. In other words, primary possession cases, or maybe low-level dealing. And I think, McGraw, the reason he's doing that is that we just can't afford the present system. $60 to $80 billion a year it costs the prison, the state, and the federal systems. And if you break down the numbers, about 20% of those incarcerated in state systems are there for some type of drug charge. It's 50% in the federal system. And so what he's saying is we've got to be more defining about who we keep locked up for long periods of time. Because there clearly are people that need to be locked up for a long time. But we've gotten basically sort of, let's just lock everybody up for a significant period of time. And that's going to reduce crime. And that does not necessarily pan out.
Did you say 50% of the people in federal prison are non-violent drug offenders? Can you hear me? Brad, can you hear me?
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Brad? I don't know what happened. He heard me, and then he didn't hear me. He'll try and call back. Did I hear him say correctly that 50% of the people in incarcerated in prison are non-violent drug offenders? Do we have him back? Brad, are you there? Brad, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right, good. Did you say that 50% of the people who are locked up in the federal prison are there because they're non-violent drug offenders?
No, that they're drug offenders.
Okay.
No, but there are a percentage of those 50. I think what the Attorney General is trying to focus on, he's not suggesting that you let that 50% go. He's suggesting that you look at some of those, and in future cases where they are non-violent, to think about alternatives to incarceration. That's all he's saying.
Right. So the get tough and the 3 strikes you're out and let's lock up all these bad guys really didn't solve anything.
Well, actually it did, McGraw, to a certain extent. I'll give you a 30-second example. In looking at the crack epidemic in Washington, D.C. in the early 90s, the FBI formed these gang task forces that went after violent gangs, and by selectively going through the leadership, arresting them and giving them lengthy sentences for murder, etc., the homicide rate started dropping significantly in D.C. So it does work with certain types of crime and certain types of repetitive offenders. But we've got to figure out a way just not to lock up everybody. I mean, you're really talking about 2.5 million people locked up, either in county jails, state or federal facilities. That's a lot of folks.
Yeah.
We have the highest lockup rate in the world, if that gives you an idea.
Yeah, that's always interesting when you look at the incarceration rates from different countries around the world. What are your thoughts as you watch this New York City stop and frisk policy be torn apart?
Well, this is what I think, that NYPD got basically sloppy on how they were doing stop and frisk. And they basically, it sounds like, maybe used them just because they wanted to stop people. Stop and frisk has a valid use, and here's the following. You use reasonable suspicion to stop somebody if you think they've been involved in a crime, you've witnessed them, or they're about to commit a crime. You can then frisk them if you have reasonable suspicion that they're armed. It's an officer safety thing, obviously. That's not difficult to articulate if you have those basic elements. They're not saying you have to have probable cause. NYPD did 4.5 million stops in 8 years, and 84% of them are African American or Hispanic. The judge basically saying, look, you didn't follow these rules, and she actually used the term indirect racial profiling that they use to do these stops. So I don't know that I could completely agree with the judge, but I do think you do have to have some sensitivity. If you have this much power to stop people and detain them, that you've got to go through at least a basic checklist.
The judge didn't throw it out. The judge said you can continue to do this, but there's got to be some oversight.
There has to be oversight. She's appointed a local attorney to, I think, assist NYPD in rewriting some of the rules. There are 5 precincts in New York that the patrol officers now have to wear a body camera. So there's actually, someone can actually see you, stop, articulate. That's not going to go over well, I'll tell you. I mean, NYPD has 35,000 officers. So a lot of logistic and administrative issues with all of that.
Well, what's to stop the person watching the camera to be, overly zealous in their, opinion of who they should stop and frisk and who they shouldn't? The other thing, too, about all of this, which everyone I don't think talks about, is you might look at the number of African-American and Latinos who were stopped. But is it a race thing or is it an age thing? I don't think they're stopping too many 50-year-old African-Americans or 50-year-old Hispanic men.
No, you're exactly right. It's primarily younger. And, the problem, McGraw, is that when you look in a city like New York, I'm sure if you look in St. Louis, where is the violent crime? Where is significant drug dealing? Unfortunately, it's neighborhoods that many times are concentrated with Hispanic and African Americans. And so, the police argument is, okay, the numbers are skewed, but we have to go where the crime is committed. So that's the big argument from the police side, that they think they can't do a whole lot about the percentages of people stopped.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a tough call either way. Brad Garrett, ABC News, crime and terrorism analyst. Thanks for checking in, Brad.
Take care, McGraw.
628, Big 550, KTRS.